Hello, football fans, and welcome to a bumper edition of View from the Sideline podcast. Coming up this week, we've got the Premier League and EFL review from the weekend. Pete gives us his weekly teaser, and we've got a predictions update as well as Chris's Wonders of White. We've got two firsts on the podcast this week as Liam joins us in part 2 to give us his view on his beloved Aston Villa. And we sit down with Farsley Celtic's Luke Parkin to find out more about the club ahead of their FA Cup tie with Southport at the weekend. Lots to talk about this week, so let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 7 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Rich here and as always Chris is with us. How you doing, Chris?
I'm alright, Rich. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Yeah, lots to talk about this week, lots to get through.
Big week.
Big
week.
It is a big week. We'll just firstly we'll give the results of the shirt that we were giving away with set piece shirts, I think. Yeah. So listeners, you may have seen on our social media channels that it was won by a lady called Dawn. So the shirt has been shipped today, so it should be arriving with her shortly. But just a quick thank you to everybody who entered, everyone who followed both pages. And it was good. It was good to.
Congratulations to Dawn. She's got herself a nice T-shirt as well now.
Nice Liverpool shirt. Yeah. Okay, so we will get straight into it. So we've got Pete's teaser. So what have you got for us this week, Pete?
Okay, Rich, this week's question. How many teams currently playing in the Premier League have never been relegated from the Premier League?
That's a good one. Okay. We are going to have Liam in part 2 this week.
Got a third person to help us out with the teaser. So... yeah.
How many teams currently in the Premier League have never been relegated from the Premier League?
I can name you one because that is the team I support. So.
Yeah, I can name you two because the other one's the team I support.
Better not ask Liam.
No, maybe he might actually be no help at all in this. So we'll get straight into the Premier League review. And I think a good place to start this week is going to be the King Power Stadium. So Leicester v Newcastle. Probably the most, I'd say it was the most convincing win of the weekend. Leicester 5, Newcastle 0. Chris, what did you think?
Well, I don't think there was any doubt in the sending off. Let's put it that way. That was a horrific challenge by Hayden. But to be fair, Leicester took full advantage of Newcastle having only 10 men on the pitch. But at the same time, they played some really, really nice football. It's the same names, again, that we're mentioning week in, week out that are impressing us as well. And again, the Leicester City defender, I'm not going to try and say his name because he's their new signing this season. But
he's Turkish, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I already seen this week that the papers are saying that Man City may be after him in January, so that's always a good sign that you're having a good time on the football pitch. But Newcastle, lack of goals as well at the moment. I think they've scored 4 goals this season. You think that they brought in a new striker in Joe Linton, and they've got that Saint Maximin as well. Obviously, they signed from France in the French league as well, and just don't seem to be firing at the moment, and I can't really, the games that they've been playing, they haven't really impressed me at all.
No, I mean they don't seem to have any sort of identity at the moment. I don't think it's almost as if the Spurs result was a bit of a fluke. I think being a Spurs fan, it's extremely frustrating that the way Newcastle are playing at the moment, yet when we played them, they managed to beat us, which isn't great. But I'm surprised by by some of the comments on the sending off, because there is an opinion out there that it was a harsh red card. Now, I think when you watch it at full speed, it looks absolutely awful. To be honest, from my point of view, it doesn't look much better when it's slowed down. But there are a few people have said that they didn't think it was a sending off.
Well, I'm surprised by that because it was a pretty nasty tackle. So
yeah, it was. I think
even in slow motion, it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't. And 1-0 down, Newcastle are always going to find it hard to get back into the game. You go down to 10 men, it makes it even harder. Then I think when the second goal goes in, it's almost over as a contest. But what impressed me with Leicester is, I mean, one of the best players in the league so far this season, James Maddison. He didn't play because he was injured. But all the other players stood up. I mean, I don't think they miss Harry Maguire at all, which I think for the money they got for him, then that's a good thing as well.
They must be laughing at the moment when you look at the performances of the two teams as well. It's not.
I know where I'd rather be.
Exactly, yeah.
But Leicester third place. A lot of people are going to write them off. I actually think they've got a decent shot. I think they've got a decent shot of top four. But
I think I know they're the highest out of the non-top 6 teams.
Oh, Chris, I'm going to have to interrupt you. There's been a goal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Well, by your reaction, it's not a goal for Bayern Munich, is it?
No, it's a goal for Tottenham. It's the goal for Tottenham. Sorry, yeah. So obviously we've got Champions League tonight. So if I get excited, it's because Spurs have scored. Right, okay, back to the Premier League. We'll actually go to Tottenham next, actually. So Tottenham v Southampton. A strange game, I think. It almost feels a bit like a defining game for Spurs, where I do feel that if they had lost, I think Pochettino could have literally been on his last legs.
Well, I think Aurier wasn't going to help your cause much. I think, although the second yellow...
I think that was soft, the second yellow,
it was
personally.
It was soft, but the thing is, I think, he's already on a yellow, so he just needs to just not go near anyone. I
think we say that a lot week in, week out. When players get sent off for 2 yellows, we're always saying that they just need to be a bit more careful. But I do think that there was an element of softness about it. But I think it's one of those challenges that if the player's already on a yellow card, and especially at that point of the game, I think in the past that refs may be a bit more lenient about that. And maybe they wouldn't have given him the second yellow, but they did. Well, yeah, they did.
We have to talk about Lloris as well.
It was a great assist. I mean, what do you mean? It was a great assist. That's the second goal Danny Ings has scored, isn't he? From sort of goalkeeper errors. He got the one against Liverpool, didn't he? So,
but luckily, it hasn't cost you. Him getting sent off and Lloris giving the goal away hasn't cost you at all. Fair play with 10 men like Arsenal did against Villa a week or so ago. I thought you actually were better with 10 men on the pitch. I thought you looked like you had more fight in you. Kane had a good game.
Yeah, Kane did play well. I think though, if I'm a Saints fan, I'm disappointed with that.
Second half, they did have a lot of chances, and Lloris, although he made that mistake for the first goal, he kept you in that game as well in points. He made some really good saves. So.
As a Spurs fan, it's a brilliant 3 points, especially the form we've been in. But I would be disappointed as a Saints fan not to take anything from that game, because they dominated it. If they just had that little bit more up front in that final third, then I think they probably do take something away from that game. But I'm not going to complain about it. So we'll move on. So we'll go down to Bournemouth, West Ham, 2-2. I think for a neutral, it was a pretty entertaining game. Goals disallowed then.
Yeah, well, I think we've both agreed that Bournemouth and West Ham are two teams where they're very unpredictable. You never really know what you're going to get from either team week in, week out. But to be fair, I thought they both played pretty well. Yarmolenko as well. playing
It's
well.
a great goal. I thought that was a good goal overall. The sort of the control and the layoff from Haller, and then the turn and the finish. I thought it was a great goal. I like Yarmolenko. I think he's a good player.
And Bournemouth getting back into the game. A nice comeback from them.
Even though it was disallowed, but it was disallowed, and he was quite clearly onside. So that's almost where VAR has worked really well, because the goal's disallowed and then it's overturned, and it's a perfectly good goal. I think that the Nathan Ake one.
Yeah, it's not the first time it happened this weekend either. So
no, it's good to see.
No, it's good to see that other side, that goals aren't just taken away from you; they can be given to you. So it kind of makes that point where you can moan about VAR week in, week out about they struck off a goal here, they struck off a goal here, but when it actually gives you the goal, you are quite thankful that it's there.
Absolutely, it's a different story.
Harry Wilson, I think, is a great addition to the Bournemouth side as well. He's a good young player, and a lot to come from him. I know he's only on loan from Liverpool, but he's played really well so far this season.
Yeah, he has been playing well. I think that the difference for me here is because West Ham are obviously they're fourth place at the moment, and they are having a brilliant start to the season. They haven't lost since the opening day against Man City, but I'd have a little bit more faith in Leicester maintaining it than West Ham, but I'll be happily proved wrong. I think West Ham are a good side. They're a good side to watch. They've got good players. So, a good game overall. So not so good for Everton. So losing to Man City 3-1. Strange game, I thought, this one.
Yeah, chances. It's not like that they didn't create chances, Everton. I thought it was quite an enjoyable game. And I was quite surprised on how open the game, was. Man City, I thought, were quite open at the back, and I think they were there for the taking in some points. But I thought Mahrez had a really, really good game.
Yeah, he did. He did play well.
Yeah.
It's pretty scary though, isn't it? Because I was just going to say about De Bruyne. I know we talk about him every week, but he seems to be able to get into that position, sort of on the right hand side, but infield enough where no one really picks him up, and the whip he gets on that ball to cross it in is just unbelievable, and it's always into a danger area. And I think he's been phenomenal for City this year, and it's quite scary when you think of Mahrez is probably a squad player for Man City. Yeah, he starts the game and he puts in such a performance.
That ball he put in for Gundogan as well was such a nice ball. Where he's
a quality player, really good player.
I think it was.
Sorry, I was just going to say the thing I liked in this game, and it was right at the end, but because there's so much talk about VAR at the moment, Raheem Sterling's goal. So the third goal for Man City. Yeah. How quick was that done for goal line technology to say that the ball was over the line? It was so quick, and then we just moved on. Well, yeah, it is. But I mean, it's almost because the technology's been there a while.
Yeah.
I know the ref. The ref's watch beeps, but there's no faffing around with it. It's a goal.
I guess it's a lot easier. With just, is it over, is it not over? Because there's only two outcomes.
I just like the technology. Yeah. Let me have it. Let me have it, Chris. I like the technology.
For a long time, hasn't it? I can't remember when it actually came in.
It was after Lampard scored that goal for England against Germany. We know that.
Don't.
The one that was about 6 foot over the line. But so, I mean, Man City, they're going to keep winning. Everton seem to be dropping a little bit from their early season form, but a decent 3 points for Man City, I think. I do think they deserve to win it. So we go on to their neighbours, Man United, Arsenal. So the game last night, I actually fancied Arsenal going into this, to be honest with you. I would have picked Arsenal to win.
I think many would, but a really, really dull first half. but the goal at the end, I think, kind of elevated the second half a bit. And to be fair,
it was a good goal.
No, really nice
McTominay's goal was good.
Yeah,
both good goals actually.
Aubameyang's goal was good. And towards the end of the game, there was chances for both teams. They both had really good, chances. So either team could have come out with the 3 points there. I still think, although I thought Arsenal were going to win that game, I still think they'll be happier of the two with a point. But Man United's worst start to a season in 30 years is.
I don't think the draw tells us anything about these teams when Arsenal's defence is poor, but United's attack is poor. And then, do you know what I mean? It's almost as if they cancel each other out. And I don't think a point actually, it doesn't help United in the slump they're in. And I think it's almost as if Arsenal were going to be sort of treated as serious sort of top four contenders, the way United are playing, I think it's the sort of game that they would be expected to win.
But you think like they obviously the game was shown on Sky, and in the studio they had Roy Keane and Jamie Carragher, and to think back when they were playing against each other, the teams that they had around them, the team like the Man United Arsenal team now is nowhere near, what it used to be.
No, I don't think United have got anything going forward, really. I know Rashford, but he started off the season pretty well, and I don't think he's done a lot since. It's so unlike Man United to not be a force going forward. And if you think back, sort of, obviously towards the end of when Ferguson was there, because I think since he's left, it's almost gone. You used to hate your team going to United. Because you knew from the first whistle to the last whistle, they would not give up no matter what the score was. And they were so dangerous. Now I think it's completely reversed, where
it just feels like
kind of you want to go there.
Yeah, it's kind of like Fergie knew he knew that the team, because the team he won the league with in his last season wasn't a great side. It wasn't a great side. They had Van Persie, who scored a lot of goals for them. And it's kind of like he knew that was kind of the end of his era at Man United, but also maybe the end of Man United, dominating the Premier League. So,
Well, the pressure's on Solskjaer. I think it just depends how their season continues to progress. But I don't know. A draw is probably a fair result, but it didn't. The game didn't live up to the expectations, I don't think. But a game that possibly did, I think the result was probably a little bit surprising. Sheffield United, Liverpool. So Liverpool winning 1-0. I didn't think that their front three clicked as they normally do, but I think there's got to be some praise to Sheffield United, because I think they handled them quite well.
They put up a really good fight, didn't they? And it really was only a keeper error that's kind of, ended up costing them the game. So,
do you know he's on loan from Man United?
Yes.
I didn't know that until Chris Wilder's comment about him wanting to play for Man United. So it was a strange one, because I did think, well, why would he want to play for Man United? But it's not a good way to lose when you're in the game and you lose 1-0 and it's down to a keeper error, and it's just a lack of concentration.
It's what champions do, isn't it? They grind out a result like Liverpool have done here, and it's
the first time they've won ugly this season, I would say. And you need to win ugly at times.
Yeah, it's those 3 points that are going to win you. You amount a few of those over the season. You're laughing, really, but fair play Sheffield United. I think that out of the teams that come out, they're the ones that I'm favouring at the moment, even though I didn't in my early season prediction. But,
no, and you say that before the Villa fan comes on the podcast.
Yeah, well, he won't do it.
Well, no, I might tell him. the next up for Liverpool, 3 massive games really. So they've got Leicester, Man United, and then Spurs. I think if they come through that period, I know there's Champions League games in between. If they come through those 3 league games with 9 points, I think we have to take them a lot more seriously. So we move on to your boys next, Chris. Chelsea, Brighton. Chelsea running out 2-0 winners. Quite an even game until sort of Brighton gifted you the first goal.
Yeah, this is what happens when you play out from the back. I've said time and time again, when you play out from the back, you're going to cause yourself issues, especially against someone like Chelsea, who, they are on the forefront as well. I would have been heavily annoyed had we not come out of that with 3 points. The amount of chances we actually had in the first half, it would have been criminal if we didn't get the 3 points.
But I mean, Brighton had a decent chance at 1-0 with Dan Burns' header.
Yeah. I would have been annoyed.
He just headed it too vertically.
Well, I haven't said this season, I don't think, but he actually played for Yeovil.
Did he? Oh, that's the first one.
Yeah, he scored when Yeovil went to the playoff final against Brentford. He scored the second goal.
Did he?
Obviously, we went up. Obviously, Yeovil went up to Championship. Yeah, he was playing in that game.
He must have used all his goals up. His career goals.
He should have scored though. He should have scored.
Yeah, he should have scored. It's good to see Hudson-Odoi back playing though. I think that's a big plus for Chelsea.
Yeah, I think
they've missed him.
I think he'll play tomorrow night in Champions League as well. I
like him. He's a good player.
Clean sheet, 3 points at home. Not something I've said this season either. So I was happy.
Tricky game away at Saints this weekend.
Behave.
Well, you don't know. We'll see. But they're doing all right. They're proving me wrong. I thought Chelsea would struggle, but anyway, talking of struggles, Palace, Norwich.
That's a bit harsh.
Almost. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, Norwich are struggling. They've lost 4 of the last 5, and the one game they didn't lose was against City.
It's crazy, isn't it? You think the performance that we saw them play against City, and everyone was thinking, "My God, this team can actually play." And then the last 2 weeks, they've been awful. They've been nowhere near. But our man scoring from the penalty, Milivojevic.
Yeah, it's almost back to the Palace of old, where they get a penalty, it's 1-0, it's quite nervy, and then they get another one in the last minute to sort of completely lift any pressure.
Until I watched the highlights, I didn't actually realise that they scored a second goal. I didn't realise it was 2-0 until I was watching.
Yeah, and Josh Townsend got one late on,
yeah.
But a definite penalty on that. I don't think there's any getting away from that. What surprises me about Palace in general, really, I think football fans in general, because you never really hear the positive side being spoken about, is they're in the top 10. Palace, when a lot of people pick them to struggle, they've got the same points total as Spurs and Chelsea. So, to me, that's a really good start for Palace.
They didn't really bring anyone in, did they? When you think about it, and they brought a couple of players in, but no one of a name. And I think them keeping Zaha is probably because his performances have been pretty good this season. So
yeah, he has been playing well. I think it'd be a different story if he left. But Norwich, they're only 1 point above relegation, which I think is also going a bit unnoticed. I think they're still living off the Man City win, but they have got 7 or 8 first teamers out, which is going to affect any team in the league. I think they
did against Man City. They now have 5 or 6. So.
They seem to be turning up. I think I think they've scored against Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea. They've played against all the big teams that they've played, but then they failed to score against Palace, Burnley, West Ham. So I still think they'll be all right. They just need to start putting some points on the board, really. Speaking of points, we're getting good at this segue into each game. So Wolves, Watford, battle of the bottom 2. Before the game, neither with a win.
Someone, well, I suppose they could have drawn, but for me, Watford are in huge trouble. I don't think that they were any good this week at all.
I think they really miss Troy Deeney. I think it's surprising how much they miss him.
It's just so obvious when they go forward. They just don't. There just doesn't seem any like sort of cohesion between midfield and attack. It's just really baffling because last season they were really good at going forward. But fair play to Wolves. I think they capitalised on a rather weak Watford performance. And I think now that Wolves have got that win, I think that their season has probably just started.
I thought they were almost back to their best. Their first goal, for me, was what they were all about last season. It was a great passing move, players getting into positions, getting into space. When you're in the sort of the final third, it's a decent last ball and a good finish. Lots of movement. Yeah, it did click. It clicked very well. And I think the win eases a lot of pressure on Wolves, but it piles it onto Watford. And their next game is massive. So home to Sheffield United. But Watford are going to get into a position where every game's a big game if they don't start winning. And then when you've sacked a manager and brought a previous manager back in, and you're still, your fortunes haven't changed. I mean, apart from the second half against Arsenal, I think they've been pretty poor. Then are they really going to sack him after bringing him back?
They can't. No, they can't. They can't.
Exactly, but something has to give, otherwise they're going to go down.
I think they might have pulled the trigger a bit too soon on manager switching. I think he could have had at least a couple more games just to do something. I'm not so sure about bringing an ex-manager back. I don't really see. I always think to myself, well, you kind of sacked him in the first place, so.
But there must have been a reason why they wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah. I understand that, but it just seems very, very odd that at a time of when they probably need stability more than anything, they went ahead and sacked him, and then. Last week obviously didn't help them losing 8-0. I mean,
well, they've got Spurs in a couple of weeks, so they'll probably get 3 points.
They'll be all right.
Yeah. Okay, so that that wraps it up for that part of the Premier League review. Obviously, we've got Liam coming on in the second part of today's podcast as our first guest. So we're going to save the Villa-Burnley game until Liam joins us, because we want to get his view on his club, what he thinks they're capable of this season, how he thinks they've been doing so far. So we'll go into the EFL review to finish off part one, Chris. So I'll start with the Championship. Where West Brom are now top of the table on 19 points after their second consecutive win. They won 2-0 away at QPR. They remain the only unbeaten side in the Championship. It's probably just worth pointing out, though, that they are playing tonight. So they're actually 1-0 down away to Leeds. So the unbeaten record could be going tonight. Yeah, I have jinxed it, yeah. So as it stood at the end of the weekend, they were a point ahead of Swansea in second and Nottingham Forest in third. Leeds dropped to fourth after defeat away at Charlton, who now move up to sixth. And Preston occupy the other playoff place in fifth after sharing 6 goals with Bristol City in a 3-3 draw. At the bottom, Stoke are still without a win and remain on 2 points after losing 3-2 at home to Forest. That game was on Friday night. Sack him. Oh, yeah, they've got to do something, haven't they?
Yeah, the ex-Yeovil player, ex-Yeovil assistant manager, sack him.
Oh, that's not very nice, is it, Chris? Stop chanting during my Championship review. Where was I? Yeah, so Stoke lost 3-2 at home to Forest. Huddersfield, they did double their points tally to 2 after getting a point in a 1-1 draw at home to Millwall. Terrible, really, Stoke and Huddersfield, the position they're in. And Barnsley, they lost their third game in a row. They went down 3-1 at home to Brentford to remain in the final relegation place. So that's the Championship. So we just move on to League One. So Ipswich, they remain 2 points clear at the top. They got a 4-1 home win against Tranmere. Wickham and Fleetwood are keeping pace, though. They both won at the weekend against Rochdale and Shrewsbury, respectively. Coventry are in fourth after getting a point in a 1-1 draw against Doncaster, and wins for Sunderland and Blackpool mean they make up the playoff places in 5th and 6th. At the bottom, Bolton are still on -9 points after falling to defeat away at Portsmouth. Wimbledon, they lost their third game in a row to remain on 3 points. They lost 3-2 away at Peterborough. And Southend are only a point better off on 4 points. They lost 1-0 at home to Accrington and remain in the final relegation place. So if you want to take League Two, Chris, and then I did forget to mention, I apologise, we've got Adam's match report from Yeovil, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yep. So League Two, a big surprise at the top as Exeter lost 3-1 at home to Grimsby. They do, however, remain top. Crewe could not capitalise and remain in second after a 1-1 draw with Cheltenham. Cheltenham are actually in third. Forest Green are in fourth. They comfortably beat Salford 4-0 away from home. Not really what's going on with Salford. I know they just come up, but I think a lot more was expected of them. So anyway, Swindon moved down to fifth after they lost to Newport. Newport actually moved up to sixth after that win. And Grimsby are up to seventh after their impressive away win at top Exeter. At the bottom, it remains the same. Despite a draw with Cambridge, Stevenage remain rooted to the bottom. So now, like Rich just said, Adam's got the match report for Yeovil. Take it away, Adam.
Thank you again both for allowing me to do the Yeovil report. And wow, what a report to do for you guys. Full of instance, lots of talking points. I try to keep it concise much as I possibly can. Obviously, the big top of the table clashed. First off, first v joint second. Bromley unbeaten. Yeovil at that time 6 in a row wins. So a lot better situation than we were last time we spoke. So it's a really good game. Obviously, the final result was 3-1 to Yeovil, so we stopped Bromley's undefeated start of the season and made it 7 wins in a row for Yeovil, which is excellent. Just one more match is the best run we had. 8 wins in a row under Gary Johnson, the year we got promoted. So, fingers crossed, may happen. But back to the game, started off first few minutes. Their defender just misplaced the back pass. Our striker went for it. Their defender came back. Then it's all of a clash. Their defender, our striker, their keeper just hit into each other. Their keeper and our striker knocked out completely. The players put both players in a recovery position, which wasn't nice to see at all. And it took about 20 minutes for that to get all sorted out. Their keeper got stretchered off. Our player eventually got up and gingerly walked off, but you can tell he wasn't all there. But thankfully, what I've heard from the Bromley official Twitter page, that sort of their goalkeeper he's all okay-ish, and sort of he went back on the Bromley coach, which was good to hear, in my opinion. And after that, they had no sub-keeper, so they had to put a central defender in goal. Straight after that, so that was interesting to see, which Yeovil had this season already. We had to put our defender in goal as well. So it does happen in the lower leagues. So then the game carried on a bit slow, but as you can tell, the teams were probably a bit affected by what happens. Then they scored a bit of a sloppy goal, but no, it's sort of a fair finish from them, make it 1-0, and we just couldn't get going. Just trying to sort of put pressure on, obviously shooting at a goal that they had a defender in goal, but eventually sort of in the big stoppage time of the first half, we equalised, and then so that was a big plus. And then the start of the second half, much better. I think really controlled the second half. I mean, really sort of controlled it completely. Whatever he said at half time really got into the team, and we just sort of did it. We just did enough. Sort of own goal for the second goal, a bit sort of calamity from where we were sort of stand. You can see it bounce a few and then win in, but a bit of a luck our side. And this third goal, brilliant for the smallest man on the pitch to leap up to score header from one side of the box to go into the top corner of the other side. It's fantastic to see. And then obviously we could have scored a few more, but I think it was a fair result. I mean, so you look at it, yeah, Bromley had a sub keeper and goal, like a sub defender in goal, but I feel sort of it was a well deserved win, and obviously sort of massive win really for the standings. Now a point behind Bromley, etc. But there's another talking point in this game is got to about the final few minutes, but the 88th minute, 87th minute, and the ball boys, the Yeovil, didn't push the ball back fast enough for the refs liking or the players liking, and then obviously wasn't too happy about it. The player, I can see the Bromley player smiled, and then he got the ball back. It was a yard, 2 yards sort of out of the way. He just took ages. He took a little bit of time to push back. Then it happened again. The same ball boy again came to him, and it took a little bit. But I'm talking about seconds here. It wasn't anything. And then the ref went berserk. The ref demanded all. The two Yeovil players went to speak to the ball boy, and then the referee obviously was intervening, and then eventually had his best idea to we've seen on the press or Facebook or Twitter, you see that the refs send them off. But at the game, it was the players that told the ball boys to go off because the ref was losing the plot. So all the ball boys got sent off or dismissed, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I've never seen that before. And then the next minute, the next sort of throw in, the referee ran off the pitch, got the ball, gave it to the Bromley player because there's no ball boys left. Couldn't believe it. Obviously, everyone was laughing. And the Bromley players were actually quite smiling, really. They weren't overfussed by it. And really, over the period of the game, the first half especially, Bromley players were taking probably 10, 20 seconds, taking free kicks or throws themselves. So it's a bit of hit, this, there, everywhere, really. Sort of like was a bit of tit for tat. Right, yeah, so yeah, but end all, 3-1, fantastic win, much obviously improved since the last time. Really going for this now. I think the big crowd as well. I like sort of just around 4,000, which is obviously a big crowd, great atmosphere. A lot of people get to be on the team, really sort of cracking. I think sort of this anyway is up. Can we make it 8 wins in a row against Hartlepool? Who knows really? I feel sort of the only way we get beaten at the moment is I can't really see us getting beaten at the moment. I think we're such a strong side now. It's really connected. All the strikers score all over the pitch, and it's really good to see. So fingers crossed, another win Saturday, and then sort of keep on from there. Really, yeah, really good. Yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, so like Adam just said, there's another really good win for Yeovil. 3-1 against Bromley, who are top.
Such an eventful game, though, with all the ball boys.
Well, yeah, I've never seen it before.
Issues.
You
hear two completely different sides from the Yeovil fans and the Bromley fans.
I've seen it on Twitter, but
that's the fountain of all truth.
Yeah, just one more thing as well. They nearly had 4,000 there on Saturday, which is so good to see as well. And it really does, with the new owners now, it really does seem like that. The football club has been given back to the fans, if you kind of get what I mean.
Yeah, but they can't stop winning either. I think it's
the informed team in England right now, as far as from what I'm and Liverpool. I think Liverpool and them have both won consecutive 7 games. So
it's almost as if sometimes a team needs to go down. There was a lot of talk over just on sort of Sunday evening around. Do Newcastle, for example, need to get relegated to then sort themselves out to come back up? I probably think that's a little bit different because of the financial rewards of being in the Premier League. But it's almost as if being relegated, if you can turn it into a positive, was a really good thing for Yeovil.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because they seem to have found themselves, found the identity a bit more.
Yeah. And it's so strange as well because they're obviously in the National League now. But another one of their games has been picked for TV in a couple of weeks' time. So that'll be the second time they're on TV since the start of the season, which, for exposure is so good. And obviously the money side of it as well. So you kind of, obviously in League 2, I don't think any League 2 games are shown live. there might be. I'm not sure, but it has its benefits in the National League.
Yeah,
but
no, absolutely.
It just feels like everyone is behind them at the moment, and they can't. And there is going to be a time when this run comes to an end. I think everyone is aware of that, but until that happens, the fans are really, really happy.
Just go along for the ride. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up. I am just going to mention that Stoke are actually playing Huddersfield tonight. Just on the back of the championship review. It may not surprise you, but it's 0-0.
0-0? Yeah, I was going to say, is it 0-0?
Yeah, just coming up to half time. Bayern Munich have also equalised against Spurs. That happened ages ago.
You kept that one quiet.
Yeah, I just didn't say anything. I'll only get excited when Spurs score.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so that'll do us for part 1. So we'll be back in part 2 where we'll be getting Liam on the podcast, and we'll also be talking about Farsley and the interview that we've got for today's podcast. So we'll see you in part 2.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of View from Sideline podcast. So I'd like to introduce you to Liam, who is pretty much our first guest live on the podcast. Hello, Liam. Are you all right?
Hi, guys. Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Yes, not too bad, Liam. Rich.
Welcome, Liam. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
This is history in the making right here.
So, Rich, is there any update on the Tottenham score?
No. It's they're still playing football. That's the only update I have.
Okay, so we're going to go into also something new to the podcast. So Rich had an interview with Farsley Celtic, didn't you, Rich?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, so this is all to do with our FA Cup feature. Where if regular listeners to the podcast will know that we originally featured Runcorn Town, who lost to Farsley Celtic in the second qualifying round of the FA Cup. So, as per the feature, we're now following Farsley, and we were lucky enough to get the chance to interview one of the players. So today I got the opportunity to sit down and talk to Luke Parkin, one of the club strikers, and it was a really good chat. It was good to get a bit more of an insight into the club, the expectations for the coming season, how he's feeling about the match on Saturday against Southport. So we got the chance to sit down and discuss those sort of things. So here's what happened. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a View from the Sideline podcast special. As listeners will know, as part of our new FA Cup feature, we're highlighting Farsley Celtic ahead of their match against Southport at the weekend. And I'm delighted to say that joining us today is Farsley striker Luke Parkin. Hi, Luke. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Rich. All right?
Yeah, good, thanks. So what we want to do today is just have a chat to you. So we want to get to know a bit more about the club, as well as focusing on the FA Cup and the weekend's game. So for the listeners that don't know, the club are currently playing in the National League North. That's after gaining promotion as champions from the Premier Division last season. So just to get a bit of an idea, Luke, going into this season after promotion, what's the expectations at the club? Was it to get back-to-back promotions or more establishing yourselves in the division?
Yeah, no, I think we set very high standards for ourselves. The manager, he always wants us to do really well, and the group of players we've got are winners, really. We've got a really good group of lads, and we're trying to push as high as we can, really. Obviously, 4th in the table at the minute. Doing really well. We've won four league games on the spin, so it's good. And obviously, we're aiming to obviously go up. I mean, to get in the playoffs would be a really good achievement. But if we got promotion, it'd be unbelievable, really.
Yeah. So I mean, as you say, so sitting 4th in the league at the moment on 22 points,
yeah.
Only 6 behind leaders York City. So a really decent position after 12 games.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think the expectations have changed since before the season, or are they the same? Or
no, I think the same. I think like I said, the group of players we've got is really good. Like we're very close. I think we just take it. It's a cliche, but we take it one game at a time and just go in and see how we're doing. I mean, we had a couple of poor results. I think it was at home. I think to Kings Lynn and away at Altrincham. And since that, like I said, we've won four in a row. We're on a really good roll at the minute, and we've played some of the top teams, the full-time teams in the league already as well. So I just think we're just, like I said, just taking it game by game and just see how we go.
Yeah. So if we can just go back to Saturday's game. So yeah. I mean, as you say, going into the match, the team's on a 4-match winning streak. If you include the FA Cup win against Runcorn, so 3 league wins. 5 minutes to go in the game, you find yourself 1-0 down. What's going through your mind there? Then is it that you can get back into it? It's not over, or
yeah, definitely. I think we've got that never say die attitude as a team. But lots of times last year where we'd concede or we'd go behind early, and then we'd always find a way to come back. And I know it's a lot harder in the Conference North to do that. But like I said, on Saturday we managed to get one, and then they got a man sent off, and we were just piling the pressure on and managed to score with the last kick of the game. And like I said, we never give up. And we've had that since I've been at the club, and it's a really good trait to have. So yeah.
I think it's. I guess when the opposition go down to 10 men, I know there's only sort of a few minutes left. You mentioned that it's almost the last kick of the game where you get the winner, but I guess you're fancying yourselves to get that winner, even though there's only a couple of minutes left when they have a man sent off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got such a good squad. A lot of people chip in with goals all the time, so it's not as if we're relying on 1 or 2 people to score. You know, we've like I said, we've got goals from everywhere, and Will managed to come up and score the winner on Saturday, and it were really good. Managed to get the 3 points and obviously keep the winning run going.
Yeah, I mean, just from our perspective, obviously, because we're following the team at the moment, it was a bit sort of dramatic. I think I saw that I did see the score when it was 1-0, and then sort of checking every now and again towards the end of the game. And when I saw it as 2-1, I thought it must have been a bit of a cracking ending to the game.
Yeah, it was. To be fair, I'd come off, and I were on the bench at the time when it happened. But it were good. It was scenes, as they say. It was really good. Great 3 points. I mean, Curzon made it hard for us. It was a very scrappy game, but to come away with 3 points, I know that they've been struggling a little bit, so I think they'll be disappointed to obviously concede last minute. But for us, I mean, it's brilliant, and it gives us confidence going into Saturday's game as well.
Yeah, there's no better way to win, is there, than a last minute. I mean, so taking all that into account, I mean, I'm quite interested to find out from a player's perspective. So, with promotion last year and in a very good league position this year, is it ever in the back of your mind about how close you are to like the EFL? I mean, so 2 promotions away from League Two, is that ever in your mindset, or is it just the here and now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah and no. You've got. I mean, you do think about like what ifs and things like that. I mean, if you'd say like last season we'd have gone up and then we'd be 4th now, people would have probably been looking at you thinking no chance. But I know that me personally, and obviously the boys and the staff, like I said to you before, we aim high, and I mean, I don't see why we can't go and get promoted to the conference, and then again, then you won off football league. So you just never know. But like I said, aiming high is something that we always speak about. We were used to winning last year, and obviously last few games we've done the same. So we've kind of got that feeling around the club, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back promotions. I think at any level of football is a pretty massive achievement. I guess whether you achieve it through automatic promotion or the playoffs, and then you are only one promotion away. I mean, and you never know where you can stop, do you? I mean, you just keep going and going.
No, definitely. But I mean, like football can change. You just never know. I mean, we're doing, like I said, we're doing really well at the minute. But I mean, we've got some tough games coming up. So we just got to take, like I said, we've got to take it a game at a time. Don't get too ahead of ourselves. But obviously, we want to try and do the best we can.
So talking about upcoming games, if we can just move on to the FA Cup. So the third qualifying round against Southport at the weekend. Just a question for you personally, as a young player. I mean, what does it mean to you to play in the FA Cup? I mean, the most famous cup competition in the world.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we haven't really had a cup run the last 2 years. And then the year before we're at Brighouse, and we didn't have one in that either. So I've not really gone far in the competition in my career. So to obviously to win on Saturday, it'd be good, because I think the group of players that we've got, like I say, we deserve to have like a good tie, and it is good. I mean, it gives obviously lower clubs places to go where, you know, it might be once in a lifetime, or places that have got big crowds and a big gate on. It's good money for the club. So Saturday's a big game. But yeah, personally, it is good, because it always gives you that opportunity to go and play somewhere higher if you get a lucky draw.
Yeah. I mean, so so if I'm right in saying, I think the furthest the club have ever got is the first round proper, which was in I think it was the 2006-2007 season.
Yeah.
When they took on MK Dons, which went to a replay. So getting a draw in the first tie, a great result against them. They were League Two at the time. Is it something that's in the players' minds at the moment, that if you were to win on Saturday and then you get a favourable draw, you're almost making history for the club?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, the last 2 years we've not really had a cup run. I think the main priority was to get out of the league, and we've done that. But now, obviously, we're doing very well in the league. We can give the cup a really good go as well. I know Southport are a decent side. We've played them already this year, and they beat us at home. So, and they're a full-time club, but there's no reason why we can't beat them on Saturday. And hopefully, like I said, get obviously the boys' dream of trying to get a league club, which would be really good.
Yeah, I mean, so we spoke about the league earlier, and you've mentioned it there. So, do you find that a cup run can become a distraction? I mean, with the majority of any football club, I think the priority is the league. The league's your week in, week out bread and butter. Do you think that it becomes a distraction, or is it good to keep the winning mentality?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Like I've already mentioned, we haven't had a cup run, so it'd be good to have one. And I think, like I said, the group of players that we've got anyway, whatever game we kind of go into, we want to try and win it regardless. And we've got a small squad, so it's not as if like the manager's going to put kids in for different different competitions. Everyone's going to get a chance to play. So I think it's good for us. I think Saturday's it's a really good game for us, and hopefully, like I said, we can try and get the win and progress. And I don't think it's a distraction. I think it'll help us.
Yeah, no, I would agree. So, and I think what it also does as well is I think it almost becomes like a community thing, doesn't it? With a cup run, especially in the FA Cup as well. I mean, I almost feel like the town, the fans, they get more involved, even sort of like a younger fan base, I guess, because they will know about the FA Cup. So if their local team are playing in that competition, then I think it can only be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is quite a small. Well, it's a village where Farsley. It's a village, not a town. It's quite small.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. It's fine. I mean, you've got obviously Leeds United, massive club close by. But if we're doing well in the FA Cup, obviously Leeds won't be in until a couple of rounds after. Then I don't see why the people of the village and obviously of Leeds can come and support us.
Yeah, I mean, on Saturday's game, so we'll just finish on this if that's okay. So, home to Southport. So, from a league perspective, you're 6 points ahead of them at the moment. You go into the match with home advantage. So, I mean, I'd almost say you're sort of going into the match as favourites. Do you think there's any additional pressure playing a team from your own division, because there's almost that thought process that you would know a bit more about them because you would have scouted them for league games and things like that? Or do you think it's just a one-off game and whoever turns up on the day, or is that extra element of pressure?
Yeah, no. I think it's obviously who turns up on the day. I think that's a lot of week in, week out, really. I think obviously when we beat Runcorn, there were a few leagues below, and it didn't really suit us playing against them. I think it more suits us playing a team that we know that are in a similar league to us. I think that probably suits us better. So I won't say there's any pressure on us. I just think it's like probably just. Obviously, it's a cup game, but it's a team that are in our league, so probably just treat it as any other game. But obviously, the boys will be up for it. So yeah.
I mean, I guess it's almost an automatic sort of feeling for a player, isn't it, to get up for an FA Cup game? I mean, like you say, I mean, you're only a couple of rounds away from possibly playing like league opposition, so that's got to be some sort of motivation for the match on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like I said, the boys want to have a big tie, and hopefully, if we do progress Saturday, then we can try and get that.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. So I think we'll stop there, Luke. So again, thank you so much for your time. It was really great to talk to you and get to know a bit more about Farsley. Yeah. And I mean, at the podcast, we've got everything crossed that you progress, because from what we know and from talking to you today, it's a club that we would like to sort of follow and highlight into the next round. So yeah, I mean, we wish you the best of luck for Saturday, and we'll certainly be looking out for the result. Yeah. So the best of luck.
Cheers, Rich. Thanks, mate.
Okay. Thanks for your time today, Luke. Thank you. So, yep, there you have it. Another first for the podcast. I've got to say, Luke was absolutely brilliant to talk to. Really informative. Really sort of gave me a feel about the club and playing at that level and how they're doing this season. So yeah, it was an absolute joy to talk to him, and I think we should probably just say to the club in general a big thank you about how supportive they've been. They have been great. I mean, we've been in contact with them, and the interviews was arranged and everything, and Luke agreed to take part, and yeah, so it was really good. So I think we should say to anyone listening to the podcast, please get behind Farsley at the weekend against Southport. They are at home. If you visit any of their social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, there's some really good content on there. A lot of information about the club on the website as well. So yeah, just please follow them. Please show them your support. I know from our point of view in the podcast, we'll be following them at the weekend and hoping that they can get through to the next round. So yeah, thanks to Luke, and thanks to the club again. It was a great experience. So on to your bit then, Liam. Aston Villa, Burnley. Yeah. So we've saved the match for you.
Yeah, we've not talked about it yet, so
no. So
you give us a download.
I think it'd be good to get your thoughts on the game, and being a Villa fan, how you think they've done so far this season, and what you're expecting from them for the rest of the season.
Well, I think, to be honest, if there was a game that summed up our season, it was probably the Burnley game, to be honest. It was good in parts. I thought, if we looked dangerous when we had runners from midfield getting into the box. Our goal was scored that way. El Ghazi getting in there. We just lack a lot of movement up front, and and it's that game management that we're really struggling with at the moment. First half, I thought we actually were the better side, really, although I know Burnley hit the bar with a free kick, but we hit the post as well. Obviously, the VAR decision, which was bitterly disappointing, shall we say, especially when you get the notification from BBC Sport that the goal's gone in. And I'm still in there for about 3 minutes before realising that there's actually a correction come through, which was really annoying. But there you go. It was probably the right call. Yeah,
I think it was the right call, though.
Yeah, it was. Looking at the replay, he was offside. It was just, it's the way it was handled, and obviously VAR's gone against us now a couple of times with the Crystal Palace game, so the atmosphere in the stadium dropped a little bit after that until we scored.
I think the issue with offside decisions with VAR now is everybody is miles offside because of what happened to Spurs against Leicester with Son.
Yeah.
But because if you're offside and you're level, if there's any part of you that is actually offside, you're miles off, aren't you, really?
Yeah. And he was a yard or two offside. You could tell from the replay. It was just one of those annoying things, really. But one thing I will say for us in this game and throughout the season, when we went down, the year we went down 3 years ago, we were never in games. We were always 2 or 3-0 down at half time. Never looked like getting back into it. We haven't lost a game by more than 1 goal this year, apart from the Spurs game, first game of the season, which we were in till 5 or 10 minutes from the end. And I think it's a credit to Dean Smith. He's got no experience as a Premier League manager. Half of the players he's brought in have no Premier League experience either. But they're actually showing commitment for the club, and it's a bit worrying every time someone attacks us and the defence is looking a little bit all over the place like it was against Burnley. I mean, both the goals they scored were quite soft from our point of view, I think.
Both headers, weren't they?
Both headers, it's frustrating when you've got Mings at the back and Engels is 6'5" as well. But I think you got to credit Sean Dyche with that, really. He made the change at half time to go 4-3-3 rather than 4-4-2. And he brought Rodriguez on, who was a handful, and so was Barnes, actually, all game going forward. And it made the difference for him. The other big thing that really affected the game was Target coming off injured, I think. He looked pretty good going forward. He was quite solid at the back. And his injury really put us under pressure a little bit by bringing Neil Taylor on, he's been beaten for the first goal in the air, and to be fair to him, he's not the tallest lad. That's not his fault. And then for their second goal, him and Grealish have both fallen asleep a bit on the left hand side for Villa and let an easy cross get in. So a little bit frustrating overall, especially when you've just taken the lead with 10 minutes to go to concede so quickly. But there are positive signs for the rest of the season.
Just on Grealish, because there was a really interesting debate that I picked up over the weekend, and I don't know what you think about it, being a Villa fan, but there seemed to be a few people after the draw on Saturday that were saying Villa can't afford a luxury player like Jack Grealish playing, that they need someone in there that's got a bit more bite about them and a bit more fight, and that they can't afford to be carrying a player like him. Personally, I don't see that from him. I think he gives Villa a lot. But I just wondered what you thought of that, because it seemed to be a regular thing from a few people.
Yeah, I understand the point. We can't afford to have a luxury player, but I don't actually think he is. I'd say if we have a luxury player, you're looking at El Ghazi, really, who doesn't offer really anything going backwards. He's not I mean, you saw how he went down so easily for their first goal, their equaliser. I mean, he's been brushed in the face and fallen over and got taken off. But I don't think Grealish is that type of player. He actually works very hard. He's bulked up a lot over the summer as well. From seeing him last year, where the criticism of him was he went down far too easily. This year, I mean, teams target him, I think, more than any of our other players, at least.
I think there is a stat that he. I think there is a stat that he was the most fouled player in the Championship last year, and I think he's the most fouled player in the Premier League so far this year as well.
He may well be, but I think that's probably a sign that he's not a luxury player as such. He doesn't hide. He's very much a box-to-box midfielder these days. He tends to pick the ball up quite deep for us and tries to launch an attack rather than being in and around the box and just waiting to try and play that killer ball. He's not a Mesut Ozil type player, put it that way, or I guess you could say like Eriksen is for Spurs. They sort of sit and wait for that opportunity to come and provide that pass. I think Grealish is more a pick it up and run at people type player. I think it's important that we have someone like that because we're lacking a bit of movement up front at the moment. I don't want to criticise Wesley too much because he's new to the team, he's new to the league, but we need someone with a bit of creativity to try and get the best out of him. We saw it against Arsenal when Grealish picked the ball up and ran at defenders. It gives Wesley that little bit of momentum to get into the box. He's on the front foot. And I think he's going to be important to us, Grealish, again this year. He shouldn't have really stayed with us, to be honest, throughout the Championship. He's playing at a better level than I think we were. I think he could probably. I don't know whether top six is too much at the moment. I'm looking at Spurs and Arsenal and United and teams like that, and I think he'd be a fringe player. If Eriksen left Spurs, it might be a little bit different, but he is too good.
We're getting James Maddison.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a done deal. It's already done.
We do need that, and I don't think Grealish is quite there yet. He's on the way. I think he would have been there if he'd have left 2 years ago. But he's a fan of the club, isn't he? You can't fault his loyalty. He's given us 2 more years really than he needed to.
I think he needs time in the Premier League. I think that if he had gone to Spurs last summer, which at points seemed like it was going to happen, I think you might find that if he'd already had that year in the Premier League with Spurs, then he may have been that year ahead of where he is at the moment. But I think if Villa stay in the division, or if they were to go down and he was to come back into another Premier League side, I think he will benefit from the year that he's having at the moment. Yeah. I don't agree with the point personally. I think he's probably Villa's most creative player, and I do think he's a driving force for them. I don't feel that he's a luxury player, but it was just something that came out of some of the feedback from the fans over the weekend. But
yeah, and I have seen it, but I understand where they're coming from. When you're in a relegation battle, you can't afford to have a passenger. But if you look at Grealish, it's not necessarily his assists or that he shouldn't be judged on goals either, but it's finding that little bit of space, and he does it so he's not quick, so he has to be quite smart with it. And his first touch is so good that every time he's getting the ball, he's finding a yard of space, and you need someone like that to create goals. So I think it's important that we keep him. He's got to start. If I looked at a Villa squad without him in, I'd fear the worst for us, put it that way.
Mm. Well, that's a thoroughly comprehensive analysis, Liam.
Thank you.
Are you still there, Chris?
No.
Yeah, I'm just listening to Liam. I thought
you had nodded off.
I think also this season, Liam, what sort of expectations at this point do you see for Villa? Is it going to be a relegation battle for you, or?
I think it is. I was hoping at the start of the year we'd be maybe at the top of the bottom half, if that makes sense, somewhere between 12th and 15th, something like that, and we'd be fairly comfortable. Would have sealed survival with 3 or 4 games left at least. But the way that it started at the moment, the positive for us, I think, is that the games that we've lost, the leads that we've thrown away, have been down to individual mistakes. They're not through the whole team not being good enough. They're through someone giving the ball away. They're through a silly foul, like against Bournemouth, we conceded a stupid penalty in the first minute. And it's things like that I think are easier probably to cut out with just concentrating than if the whole team they've lost their confidence or something along those lines. And we're scoring goals, which does give me a bit of hope, albeit most of them are from John McGinn.
I was about to say, I know
he's had a good start, hasn't he?
He had a very good year last year. It's obviously hard to judge in the Championship how they're going to make that step up, but he's taken to it so well. And it's not just the goals he scored. Like, I was trying to have a look before I came on to see if there was stats about like the ground that he's covered and things like that in individual games. It's quite hard to find, but his heat map for the weekend was incredible. He was sort of playing at right wing, left back, defensive midfield, and he's great for things like our first goal, just picking the ball up on the edge of our area and just driving forward. And I think he's another one that's going to be fouled a lot this year. He seems to be winning a lot of free kicks.
He needed to stay fit and not injured. I think he's your key player. I understand Grealish, but I think it's McGinn for me who's impressed me the most. And obviously, I knew about him when he was in the Championship, but I think he's adapted well to the Premier League.
He has. The spine of our team with him in it, and with Grealish in it. Mings didn't have a good game at the weekend. I thought Ashley Barnes actually outmuscled him, outplayed him, but he's had a good start to the year. So the spine of the team is there, whereas in seasons before, we struggled at the bottom for about 4 or 5 years, really, before we eventually got relegated. And it was because our spine just didn't really have anyone in centre midfield, no leadership at centre back, really. We've got that now. I think it's just adding. I think I speak for most Villa fans. We would have preferred another winger in the transfer window and another striker, because we're relying a bit on, if the game isn't going our way, we're throwing Keenan Davis on with 5 minutes to go, and he's 21 years old, no Premier League experience really. It's not fair on him. So I think we do need a bit more depth outside the first team, but there's positive signs there. I think it will be a relegation battle. I do think we've got enough to stay up. I think it'll be a better challenge than we gave last time we were in the Premier League. But I think when you have players like McGinn, and Nakamba actually played quite well for us the last 2 games that he's played. He looks like a decent talent as well from Bruges. When you have those kind of players, if it does click, like I'm hoping it will do, and there are signs of it, we should be okay, but it will be a struggle this year. Norwich is a big game for us this weekend.
That is a big game. Because I at the start of the season, I didn't put Villa near the bottom 3, to be fair, but I had Sheffield United in there. See, I think a lot of people underestimated Sheffield United. I think you'll stay out. I think you've got enough talent in that squad to keep you up, and I think, you haven't got the worst team, so
no. In order to go down, you've got to have a pretty bad squad. I think to stay up, there's got to be 3 teams worse than you. And I know it's easy to play the game on paper, but looking at some of the squads and some of the form that teams are on at the minute, and some of the troubles off field, looking at sort of Newcastle, it's not the fans' fault what's going on. But you look at the troubles that teams like that are having, and you would fancy your chances against them, especially, we look at Newcastle this weekend against Leicester, and they just sort of capitulated. And that's the kind of attitude that I think we had when we got relegated that we don't have now. We don't give in. We don't concede 1 goal and then think, well, that's game over. We've not got that attitude about us anymore, which I think is important to staying up. And going back to Sheffield United, the way that they play is so hard to play against, and I think they've got to be like, you've got to appreciate what they're doing at the moment with the centre backs that are basically playing in centre midfield. It's so hard to sort of combat against that. Unfortunately, we didn't have a style that we could bring up to the Premier League. I don't think. I think we got on a run at the end of the season without necessarily having a certain style like Norwich had their fluent passing play. Sheffield United played with their formation. We didn't have that to bring up. So we've had to try and change our style a little bit. But I'm still hopeful. We can stay up.
Well, when Chris and I did our predictions at the beginning of the season, neither of us had Villa as going down. So you can pretty much take that as in they will not get relegated.
I'll take 17th at the moment. I'm hoping I know we spent a lot of money. I'm hoping we can get a couple of bodies in January, and it would give us a little bit of depth. I think that's what we're lacking at the moment. The subs that we're making just aren't good enough.
Okay, that is the most comprehensive analysis of a game we've ever had, Liam. And so next week we are going to be under so much pressure.
Thanks, guys. I made a lot of notes. To be fair,
we're going to be under so much pressure, but you're going to stay with us for the rest of the podcast, if that's okay with you.
That's fine by me.
So, firstly, I mean, thanks for coming on. I mean, that's a brilliant analysis. It's good to get that sort of view from a fan of a different club. I mean, Chris and I will talk about Chelsea and Spurs with a bit of passion and a bit more knowledge than maybe the other sides. But that's a really, really good insight. So we'll go on to predictions. So we'll give an update from the weekend. So Chris, 6 out of 6. I don't think that's ever happened before. So a total of 25 points. I don't think we've ever got all 6 outcomes
the crazy thing
right.
is, it's not even my highest score this season either. But
no, it's not. But Tom was our guest last week, so Tom turned 30 on Sunday. So, I mean, what an amazing present, taking part in our predictions challenge. So the other Chris is this week's guest, and we've actually got Farsley Celtic Southport game in our predictions for this weekend, and I'm very pleased to say that all 3 of us have gone for a Farsley win. So fingers crossed for that. We'll move on to Chris's stats from the weekend in his features. The Wonders of White.
Yeah, so we kind of tread on a little bit of toes on one of them already, but we'll start. So this could be a first. So at the game at Yeovil, obviously all the ball boys were sent off. I don't think have you ever seen it, Liam?
No. I've seen a ball boy be kicked by Eden Hazard before. Sorry, Chris. No, right, I've never seen it.
Right. Let's cut him out.
Chris doesn't take Chelsea criticism very well.
We did not bring you on to say that. Okay, right, next one. Manchester City's victory over Everton and David Silva his 200th Premier League win in his 289th Premier League appearance, which makes him the quickest ever player to reach the 200 total. Chelsea have now won all 9 of their league meetings with Brighton, making it a Football League record for the most games played by a side against a single opponent while winning every single one of those games. But we can't all be perfect now.
I was going to say that I knew there was going to be a positive Chelsea stat in there somewhere.
Well, we're going to have to now after what Liam just said.
Wow.
And the last one is Real Madrid have kept 3 consecutive clean sheets in La Liga for the first time under Zinedine Zidane in both his reigns, if you kind of get what I mean. So yeah.
But that's probably the most surprising one, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the one I was quite shocked at that when I saw that.
Okay.
When I had my stat machine out, it was.
I love the stat machine. So we're gonna finish off today's episode with some quizzes. So I just wanted to do, while I've got both of you on this week, I just wanted to do a quick quiz between you both, just to see.
Here we go. It's going to show me out.
Who has the greatest level of knowledge when it comes to football? So how this is going to work is, so I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm not going to tell you how many possible answers there are, but let's just say there's 100. So you will take it in turns to give me an answer, and the first person who cannot answer or gives me an incorrect answer will lose. Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Is that clear?
You can be sweat now, because now I feel pressure.
Okay. So Chris, being the co-host on the podcast, I'm going to let you go first. And the question is players that have captained England.
Right.
So you have to give a name, and then that name is out, and then Liam, and so on and so on and so on until someone can either not answer or they get it wrong.
Okay.
So you can go first, Chris.
Harry Kane.
Okay. That's obviously right, so you can move on.
Yeah. What have I got? Oh, have I got to go all through?
No, I thought you understood the rules. Now it's Liam's turn.
My go now. Okay, I will go with David Beckham then.
Correct.
Steven Gerrard.
Correct.
Okay, and I can't believe he hasn't said this already. John Terry.
Boo. Correct. I didn't think it would last this short a time.
I don't know. Rio Ferdinand.
Ferdinand.
Yeah.
Oh,
Correct.
you couldn't have captained many, surely.
It's not about how many, it's about whether they've done it. Only because I haven't got the stat of how many. So.
Okay, I'll go for an easier one. Bobby Moore.
Yeah, I think we know that one's right. You can have that one.
Oh, I don't know if this guy actually captained them or not. Frank Lampard.
Oh, he's taken my guess.
Oh, this would be embarrassing. No, yeah, Lampard's on there.
Oh, that was what I was going to go with. Okay. Tony Adams.
Yep. Chris?
Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, good one.
It's getting a bit tougher now.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Brian Robson.
Legend.
Yep. Chris?
Oh no. Jordan Henderson.
Favourite player? Yep, he's on the list.
It's getting difficult.
It can be sweat.
I will go with Ray Wilkins.
Yep.
Oh, God's sake. I think he did. Gary Cahill.
Crikey, Chris.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's on the list, but that is so random.
How did you get that? Oh, God. Okay.
I've got one more as well.
You might need more than that. Owen.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, Liam. Said Adams. Keown.
Martin Keown.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, what? I thought that was that one.
Honestly, I'm just thinking of defenders now. That's all I can think of.
Just handing out the captaincy to anyone. All right, I'll go with the other Arsenal centre back, Sol Campbell.
Git.
Yeah, he's on there.
I've actually exhausted all avenues. I'm going to go quickly with. I don't think he did. Lineker.
Yep, he's on the list.
Oh God, I thought that was going to be it. I'm struggling now. I will go with Bobby Charlton.
Yep.
Oh, that was a pure guess.
Paul Ince.
Yep.
Oh, I thought he only played for them.
That's it for me now. Honestly, I can't think of anything. I can't think of English players now.
I think you're luring Liam into a false sense of security here, Chris. I think you're hustling.
I am really struggling now. I am going to have to guess quickly and say Paul Scholes.
Paul Scholes.
Yeah, that doesn't sound promising.
He's not on the list.
Oh,
Can
Well
I
done,
take my
Chris.
next one? My next
Yeah.
one was Gary Neville. Is Gary Neville on there?
Gary Neville.
Yeah.
Nope.
Uh-huh.
the other one
That was going to
Ashley,
be next.
You're going to kick yourselves.
was
So,
Ashley Cole on there.
Alan Shearer,
Oh, yeah.
I never would have
Kevin
thought about that.
Kevin Keegan, David
No.
Platt, Peter Shilton, Stuart Pearce,
Oh,
Terry Butcher, Eric Dyer's on there. You've got Alf Ramsey, and then Joe Hart. So Joe Hart captained England. David Seaman, Sterling, Delph, Smalling, Milner, Jagielka, Scott Parker, Gareth Barry, Beardsley, Clements.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you've got a bit of paper in front of you that says all that.
Well, it's an Excel spreadsheet, actually, Chris. I'll have you know. Oh my God, have you seen the Spurs score 4-2?
Yeah. I was going to mention it halfway through the quiz, mate. I thought
4-0 to Bayern, 4-2 to Bayern Munich.
Oh dear.
Okay, so we've got to wrap up this teaser. Teams currently in the Premier League that have never been relegated.
I can tell you 5.
Okay.
Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, United, Liverpool.
Everton.
I think I've got a couple more. Because I think if it's never been relegated, I don't think Bournemouth and Brighton have been relegated.
God, that's why you're on, Liam. That's left field. That's a.
Because they've only been in it. Well, Bournemouth have been in a bit longer, but I was thinking of teams that haven't been in the Premier League long enough to go back down again. I couldn't think of any more though. I got stuck on 8.
So who did you have, Chris?
Well, at the so-called top 6, I guess.
Well, Man City have been relegated from the Premier League.
Well, take Man City out then. So you got Everton.
I know that because we've spoken about that on a previous podcast. So you've got your 5, and then Liam, you're putting Brighton and Bournemouth in.
So I had the list of teams I had was Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Everton, Bournemouth, and Brighton. So I had 8.
8. Right. I'm happy to go with 8.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. What about Palace? Have Palace ever been relegated? Yeah, they must have done. Okay, yeah, let's go with 8. Chris, you're gonna do the honours.
Okay, so Arsenal.
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Manchester United, Liverpool, Everton, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Brighton.
8.
Arsenal. Let me just go through this. Arsenal, Bournemouth, Brighton, Chelsea, Everton, Man United, Liverpool, Tottenham. Before that, Huddersfield were on the list until they got relegated last season. So yeah,
so that's 8.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 8 is the correct answer. Liam, you saved us there because I never would have said Bournemouth or Brighton.
No, nor would I.
It's an easy one as well, but
so we're now we're 5-2 up.
Yeah. We will not be defeated.
We will not be defeated. Yeah, 5-2 up. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for today's podcast. So just want to say thanks, Liam, for coming on.
Cheers, mate.
It's great to have you on.
Thank you for having me, guys. Cheers.
That's just it. You're more than welcome. And yeah, so I guess we just sign off with looking forward to the FA Cup tie on Saturday. So Farsley Celtic against Southport. Come on, Farsley. Thanks again to the club for letting us do the interview, and I think we'll sign off now, and we'll speak to you all next week.
See you next week.